All right, please let me know that you can hear the sound of my voice. Good afternoon and welcome back. It's going to be Analyze This Mess. I'm going to be reading from ECF 118, the filing that the District Judge Levy made on last Thursday. It just seems like a couple of days ago, right? It's Saturday. Wow. Shout out to all my other beers. I call the Grizzlies and the Honey Beers. Please hit the like on your way in. Please be respectful in the chat. I may show some of the chat. I am not going to leave this up. I'm going to not just like this for the entire broadcast. I'm going to put up the actual filing. I should have it behind this right now. Let me just come out, take a peek, just make sure maybe one of my moderators is here. I haven't looked at the chat. And let me just also go out. Hang on. See if I can bring this up. So go out. There we go. Just in case I would want to show it. I might do that. I see Vicky Black and others. So let me see if I can set it up like that. Bring it over. Just hang on for a second. Let me throw this up. Throw that up real quick. All right. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Hang on. Just moving all these screens around. There we go. Let's see if this is going to work. And that way I can look at the chat and I can see the order without having to go back and forth. This is the 26-page document. United States District Court, Eastern District of Michigan, Southern Division. So before I get ready to read it all, I expect that I'll get through it. Shouldn't take maybe an hour. In between maybe commentary, I'm not sure. But it's the afternoon. So if you're out shopping or whatever you are doing, grab lunch and take a listen if you care to. Again, please be respectful in the chat. Good afternoon to all of you. I see, let me just roll this back just so I can see. We've got Sharon and Vicky Black, Michelle, Angie, Sharon. Okay, so I'll just let that flow. I see Plotter. Okay, here we go. Hang on. That way you can keep rolling. All right. So I was debating whether I was going to come on with this reading this afternoon or leave it for tonight and talk about one of the videos that I was looking for from the Crown family and tell you something about that, and then go over to Station Head and take a listen. But I think I decided I'm going to do this right now instead because of the length of the document. And if I waited too late, it would just be, I think, yeah, some of you might fall asleep. If you're going to fall asleep with my voice this afternoon, you must be really tired. But that's okay. You can take an afternoon nap and I can help you with that. Okay. uh, let's see. Plotter says, I'm glad you went live at this time. I never catch your late ones, so this is okay. All right. I see Junebug. So let me go ahead and get started with this. It's case number 2413435. Judith E. Levy, United States District Judge, Magistrate Judge Elizabeth A. Stafford, Sabrina Evans, myself, plaintiff versus Danielle Robertson et al., defendants. This is the order overruling defendant Danielle Robertson's objections 82 to Magistrate Judge Stafford's order 74 denying as moot defendant's emergency motion to stay 82, overruling defendant's objections 94 to Magistrate Judge Stafford's order striking ECF number 83. 87 is the document that the defendant filed to petition for that, and denying defendant's motion to submit video evidence, ECF 94. And yes, you can email me right now at unwinewithteddy@gmail.com. Before the court is defendant Danielle Robertson's objections, ECF number 82 to Magistrate Judge Elizabeth A. Stafford's September 25th, 2025 order, ECF number 74, which contain the following decisions. Denying as moot plaintiff Sabrina Evans' motion to strike non-party John Doe, motion to quash John Doe's motion for reconsideration, and plaintiff's motion to compel John Doe to reveal his identity, ECF number 74, page ID 773, ECF numbers 31, 50, and 54. So again, she's just going over the orders that were contained in that to the magistrate. Okay, let me just continue. Granting plaintiff's motions to compel disclosure of defendant's identity and denying plaintiff's motion to strike defendant's filings made under her alias, ECF number 74, page ID 778, ECF numbers 36, 41, 42, 51, and 56. Granting in part and denying in part defendant's motion for protective order, ECF number 74, page ID 780, ECF numbers 28. Extending the summons and time to serve until October 8th, 2025, and permitting alternate service, ECF number 74, page ID 780 through 781. Ordering defendant to file a notice identifying her legal name and postal address, which may be the address of a registered agent by November 3rd, 2025. We remember that as page ID 784. Ordering both parties to include a written representation that they have personally checked each legal citation, that each citation is accurate and stands for its asserted proposition in or on page ID 785 on October 9. Let's get here. 2025. Defendant filed objections to Judge Stafford's order and an emergency motion to stay the order, ECF number 82. Superscript 2 is plaintiff's objections to Judge Stafford's order and her response to defendant's objections. ECF numbers 79 and 90 were stricken. We remember that, and are not part of the record for the reasons set forth in the court's November 7th, 2025 order, ECF number 106, pages ID 20 or 2257 or 2257 through 2258. Let's go back. Defendant also filed objections to Judge Stafford's order striking ECF number 83, which she claims contains exhibits to her objections and motion for a stay, ECF number 94. Finally, defendant moves for leave to submit media files as exhibits. So, finally get to through all of that and start into the real meat of this document with the legal standard. 1. Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 72A provides that for non-dispositive pretrial matters where a magistrate judge issues a written order, a party may serve and file objections to the order within 14 days after being served with a copy. A party may not assign as error a defect in the order not timely objected to. The district judge in the case may order or must consider timely objections and modify or set aside any part of the order that is clearly erroneous or it's contrary to law. Federal R, Civil P, 72A. The Eastern District of Michigan local rules state that objections under Rule 72 must A, specify the part of the order to which a person objects, and B, state the basis for the objections, ED Michigan LR 72 1D. This standard requires the district court to review findings of fact for clear error and to review matters of law de novo. I will not be reading all of the citations. I'll highlight them there each time. Okay. A factual finding is clearly erroneous when, although there is evidence to support it, the reviewing court on the entire evidence is left with the definite and firm conviction that a mistake has been committed. Okay, that comes from States versus U.S. Gibson. An order is contrary to the law when it fails to apply or misapplies relevant statutes, case law, or rules of procedure. That's been quoted from United States versus Winsper. 2. Defendant's objections to Judge Stafford's order striking ECF number 83 and motion for leave to submit video evidence, ECF number 94. This is her ruling and her analysis. The court will first address defendant's motion for leave to reinstate Exhibit 83 and to submit video evidence in support of defendant's protective order request, ECF 94, page ID 1920. Regarding defendant's motion for leave to reinstate Exhibit 83, the court construes this as an objection to Judge Stafford's order striking ECF number 83. ECF number 87. On October 15, 2025, Judge Stafford issued an order striking ECF number 83, which is a 97-page document containing exhibits E through A16. ECF number 87, page ID 1716. The document was stricken because it did not identify whether these exhibits relate to another permissible filing, and the exhibits are untethered to any motion or other authorized filings and are thus improper. At page ID 1716 through 17. Now, the superscript here on that 97-page document containing these exhibits reads here below. The court notes that ECF number 83 specifically contains defendants' exhibits E, F, J, V, W, X, Y, Z, A1 through A16, and then A15 has a -1 and -2. Defendant explains that these exhibits were intended to support her objections to Judge Stafford's order and emergency motion to stay. So, all of those exhibits were supposed to be, she's saying, defendant in support of that filing. ECF number 94, page ID 1921. She states, this is the defendant, that her exhibits were uploaded separately from that filing due to the pro se portal 5 millibyte upon or upload limit, or maybe that's megabyte, that it contains supporting exhibits referenced throughout ECF number 82, and that they are substantive supporting materials for that filing. As such, defendants request that her filing be reinstated and no longer stricken. Defendant's objection regarding Judge Stafford's order striking her filing is overruled as moot. This objection is moot because every exhibit in defendant's stricken filing appears in subsequent duplicative filings, see ECF number 84, containing the same filings, E, F, J, V, W, X, Y, Z, and ECF numbers 84 through 1 containing exhibits Z, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, A10, A11, A12, 13, 14, 15, 1, and A15, 2. ECF number 84-2 containing exhibits A15-1, A15-2, A16, and ECF numbers 84-4 containing exhibits E, F, and J. Reinstating the stricken document is unnecessary because all stricken exhibits are already in the record. Additionally, despite her argument that the stricken document contains supporting exhibits referenced throughout ECF number 82. Many of the exhibits in the stricken document are not referenced in defendant's objections and are thus not relevant to her filing superscript 4. I'm going to go to that one. Again, it notes all of these same exhibits beginning with J, X, Z, A9 through A16, while submitted in the now stricken filing, are never referenced in her objections. See ECF number 82. For the reasons set forth above, defendant's objection to Judge Stafford's order striking ECF 83 is overruled. Defendant also moves for leave to submit video evidence to the court. ECF number 94, page ID 1923. Defendant's proposed video evidence consists of a vast catalog of videos created and monetized by plaintiff, she's explaining, that references or target defendant, which apparently number in the hundreds and span 1 to 4 hours each. Page ID 1922. Despite defendant's representation that this number of videos exists, that each video reference or targets defendant, and that the videos are crucial to demonstrate the pattern, frequency, and nature of harassment, she also admits that she has not reviewed every file and that, let's just bring this up here. Neither she nor the court has that much time or desire to review hundreds of hours of footage. Page ID 1923. Defendant's motion for leave to submit video evidence to the court is denied. As stated by Judge Stafford under Rule 19C of the court's electronic filing policies and procedures, media files, CR1I, such as an audio clip or video clip, may be filed only with leave of court, and the filing party must adhere to certain procedural requirements when seeking leave to submit those files. ECF number 75, page ID 824. Defendant's motion for leave to submit these video files does not adhere to these procedural requirements. More importantly, the court cannot conclude that these videos provide factual support to defendant's arguments, considering that defendant herself has not reviewed all of the footage and thus cannot attest that each video is relevant and actually demonstrate the pattern and frequency and nature of harassment. ECF numbers 94, page ID 1923. Take a sip of water. And we continue on. This is the end of page 7. As such, defendant's motion for leave to submit video evidence is denied. You know, I'm just going to say this is interesting that it's stated that almost like the majority of my videos, 1 to 4 hours. Most of my videos would run just above an hour. I do have a handful of videos that I've made, but the judge made her note about that. 3, defendant's objections. And by the way, I'm not here to argue these points. I'm here to read it. Okay. Defendant's objections to Judge Stafford's order, ECF numbers 82 or number 82. Defendant filed several objections to Judge Stafford's order, which extended the period for service, allows for alternate service on defendant, and required defendant to file a notice identifying her legal name and postal address by November 3rd, 2025. ECF number 74, page ID 784. The court notes that defendant's brief is not well organized, repetitive, does not cite much, if any, case law, and is generally difficult to understand. The court attempts to summarize and address defendant's objections as follows. A. Defendant's emergency motion to stay. The court notes that defendant's filing regarding her objections to Judge Stafford's order consists of both objections to Judge Stafford's order and an emergency motion to stay Judge Stafford's order requiring defendant to disclose her identity by November 3rd, 2025, ECF number 82, page ID 111, or I should say 1127-1133, or I should say 1127 through 1133. That tells you how many pages have been filed, by the way, at this point that she's noting, just through ECF number 82. The court, you know what, let me just pause for a minute, because by me saying that, it may have just kind of interrupted what's going on there. So recall, there was this de novo period where we both, the plaintiff and defendant, had to file objections. The defendant filed ECF 82 as part of that, but inside of ECF 82, she also filed an emergency motion to stay Judge Stafford's order requiring her to disclose her identity by November 3rd. Okay. The court issued an order staying this November 3rd, 2025 deadline pending resolution of defendant's objections. That's what's going on here. ECF number 95. Because this relief is already granted, defendant's emergency motion to stay is denied as moot. And so one of the questions, I'm just going to pause right here. One of the questions that I would want to ask the Crown Man, now that I've seen at least 2 of his videos, because I didn't watch them, but I was looking for specific information. He was saying that she's on the winning team and Danny has become or is becoming a lawyer. This is a quote. I'm looking at some of this. The judge is going to see it their way. They don't need evidence. They're winning because a channel was once monetized or demonetized. Teddy failed the statute. Dismissal is guaranteed. The case is 2 years old. I'm quoting from one of his videos. Teddy can't prove identity, no damages, no jurisdiction. The lawsuit doesn't belong in federal court. These are all Crown Man's words, quotes, short quotes. Danielle beat the copyright claim. Teddy's case is over. Their team is undefeated. By the way, he says their team. It should be apparent by now that there is actually a team. He even named some of the team members, and one of them was Shandava, okay? Sean Davieway. Danielle himself and others, they work in concert, okay? He said it in this now defunct channel. I was looking again for these, but so then I go back. Now that the judge, this is for you, Crown Man. Now that the judge has ordered Danielle Robertson to reveal her legal identity on December 15th, what exactly are, and I'm going to say they, being this team, winning? Because he said they're on a winning team. So again, let me just pause. The question to Crown Man, now that the judge has ordered Danielle Robertson to reveal her legal identity on December 15th, what exactly are they winning? That's for the team. Any team member can answer that. But Crown Man was reading through, different parts of the case and also giving his commentary or his opinion, and lots of it. Okay. From what I understand, there are 8 videos where he talked specifically about Unwind with Teddy, the case, and Unwind with Teddy, he said, versus Danielle. And then the last one, I think it was Danielle first versus, or Danny Robertson versus Unwind with Teddy. Okay. Hang on, that's my water. Just pull this. There we go. So again, Crown Man, anyone from the team, and remember I said anything can happen. But right now, there's an order. Defendant must identify her legal name. December 15th. What exactly are they winning? Because right now, the defendant has said, her words, that she will never, ever be found. That she will disappear before that becomes known. So I'm now going to ask another question for you, Crown Man. Do you think, based on another quote that you said in one of the videos, you said that Danny isn't afraid of UOs. She's not afraid. So here's the question. Crown Man, do you think that defendant Daniel Robertson, if this deadline comes and goes, with no interference, do you think that Danielle is going to be afraid to identify her legal name to the court? Because you said she's not afraid of any O's. Now, you might say she's not saying the court, but I have something else that I could quote that I won't quote. So I'm just going to leave it like this and ask you specifically again, Crown Man, do you think that the defendant will identify her legal name? And I had to adjust the clock. Why? Because when I created it, I had it to 12 midnight. But now that sanctions are in place for both of us, this written response must be delivered to the court by 4:30 on 4:30 p.m. on December 15th. So do you think, since you are one of the spokespersons, one of the persons who have been given the green light to convey the message to the critters, as you call various ones, do you think it's two-part? What exactly is the team winning? And do you personally think that the defendant, Danielle Robertson, will identify her legal name by the deadline? If everything goes like this, no interference. I wanted to put that on record because for so many other reasons, but at least this one, Crown Man made a number of comments relative to Danielle Robertson identity not having to be, revealed. Basically, he said in one of the videos, when the judge stayed the November 3rd order, he went on his platform and he said that Danny's still anonymous. Like, see? So that's why I'm kind of honing in on this, because he made a video addressing that specifically. He talked about November the 3rd. Well, let's talk about December 15 now. Are y'all ready for me to read the rest? Because I could let you hear what he said, not on this platform, but on Station Head. I have some bits and pieces. Now, let me remove this because I'm not looking at your comments. You could be saying, Teddy, please continue to read. So let me uncover this. And I hope you don't mind that I paused, but I did. So now let's see if we can remove this. And one by one, we're going to put this back up. I am going to look at your comments, and we will continue with this since we're kind of like there with this, moot. The stay, the emergency motion to stay, denied. It's moot. Let me read some of your comments. I think this is fair use commentary. I'm reading from the document. I think I'm asking fair questions, and I am pointing out not hearsay, not anything that I don't have a receipt for now. That was his opinion. But now I'm curious about your opinion. Now that the judge has ordered Danielle Robertson to reveal her identity. I know I keep saying it. I'm repeating because I want to make sure. December 15th. What exactly are they winning? And do you think she's going to show up? And one of the things he said, by the way, also, he said they don't know where she lives. I'm asking about her identity, her legal name. All right. Would you guys like me to continue? Let's see. Let me bring, so I don't have to mess with your comments. I'm going to look at them on a screen. Oh, hold on. So I can search for anything that I think. Let's see. For anything that I think. And if I'm too close to the mic, let me know. I'm just kind of leaning in to read these comments. Oh, wait a minute. I can do this. That way I can back away. Hold on. Comments. Here we go. I see. Let me throw up this comment. Junebug says, will the judge grant another emergency stay? I don't know what the judge is going to do, and I don't know what the defendant might do. I mentioned that on Thursday night. I said, anything can happen. And I said, I'm familiar with dealing with this individual who there's still some time. I don't know what's going to show up on the docket on Monday or Tuesday. But I know there's 9 days remaining and some hours, if I'm looking at this correctly. Because it's almost 4 o'clock. So whether or not the defendant petitions for another emergency stay, that's on them. But the magistrate judge ordered her to reveal her identity on November the 3rd. She filed for an emergency stay, and it was stayed. And now, 1 month later, it was lifted and moot. And now she has been ordered again to reveal her legal name and postal address. So to answer, I really don't know. I know, again, that's all I can really say. Fair use commentary, and yeah. For me, it's also no longer just about the she, is more about the they. That's confirmed it for me all along. It's been a team, it's been a they, it's been specific theys or specific people as part of the they. Some we don't know, but others who, if you watch the way people move and coalesce and talk and have teamed and supported over the years, but it's been amplified. That's the difference. Okay. Exactly what Crown Man has been doing is amplification of her words, and I'll just say there's been an amplification. Okay. And then you can, because I don't want to say anything incorrectly as I'm answering your question. So I'll try to keep the answer short. Let's see. We got Amaya Strong. 160 says, come on, somebody. Sharon's Kitchen. Kai Kitchen says, the Crown Man clearly doesn't understand damages at all. Okay. Again, I'm not asking that question to patronize him at all. And also, by the way, I was looking for information when I found out yesterday morning that one channel was terminated. So, I'm a content creator. I know what that's about. Okay. So I kind of left that there after, that's what it is. Yeah. But there's something inside of there that I wanted to get at and to get a hold of, because that's kind of relevant to me in terms of something that I'm thinking about. Angie says, my, watchable. Gonna do when they come for you. What you gonna? I don't know. All comments and opinions in the chat. Yes, this all has to come to an end one way or another. Again, I don't know how this is going to fall out. I cannot sit here and claim victory. I'm where I'm at right now. Okay. And I will continue. After maybe one or more, two. Let's see. If she wasn't bothered by any of it, which is what she portrays, she wouldn't have filed so much paperwork. She cannot understand the gravity of this. Yes, like this video, only because May is saying it. Like the video. Like the video, like the video. Okay. Kind of echoing someone's sentiments. Yes, rhetorical question. I know you didn't expect an answer. Specific days is correct, Teddy. Yeah. I believe over the years, the days are the same, although some have, chopped and changed or dropped and changed. But the collective focus remains the same. Been listening in the bushes. Hey, Jennifer. There is also some really interesting things going on out there in Google land. Ooh, okay, we'll keep going. All right, we're going to get there. B, Objection related to the suit's bad faith foundation. In defendant's first objection, she argues the lawsuit's bad faith foundation vitiates any filing or finding of good cause. I'm reading this for the first time out loud, okay? ECF numbers 82, page ID. I read them like this 1134, okay? The court construes this objection as objecting to Judge Stafford's authorization or alternative service and extension of the service deadline pursuant to Federal Rule Civil Procedure Rule 4M on the basis that Judge Stafford's finding of good cause for the extension was erroneous. In my words, so this first objection, defendant saying, oh, alternate service, nah. Plaintiff shouldn't be able to serve me alternately. That's my kind of summation. Federal Rule of Civil Procedure states, if a defendant is not served within 90 days after the complaint is filed, the court, on motion or on its own after notice to the plaintiff, must dismiss the action without prejudice against that defendant or order that service be made within a specified time. But if the plaintiff shows good cause for the failure, the court must extend the time for service for an appropriate period. In this objection, defendant does not demonstrate that Judge Stafford's extension of the service deadline and permitting alternate service was clearly erroneous or contrary to the law. Defendant argues that the service deadline should not be extended because the lawsuit itself is bad faith, and that such action would reward plaintiffs' alleged wrongdoings or unclean hands. ECF number 82, page ID 1134 through 1137, or 1134 through 1137. Next, this is page 10. She also asserts that plaintiff should not be able to serve her and that the court's efforts to facilitate service should cease due to unspecified Sixth Circuit and Michigan equity principles. Page ID 1134, superscript 5. Let's go down and see what is that about. 5. While the court recognizes that defendant is self-represented, it is not the court's role to conduct research for her. Without citations to authority or more information on these purported Sixth Circuit and Michigan equity principles, the court is unable to credit these arguments. Let's continue. Defendant cannot avoid or evade service on any basis. While defendants certainly enjoy the right to have service effected upon them in a manner consistent with the applicable laws and rules, they are not permitted to willfully evade service of process. That is Smith and Burke, or versus Burke, and that comes from Michigan law, October 19, 2021. Also an internal, it says citations omitted, Friedman versus Estate Oppressor. Let's continue, and there are other citations. Here, there is no question that plaintiff does not know defendant's identity, nor an address at which plaintiff may properly serve defendant. No question. Now, this is my own, and I can say this because there are receipts of this, and it's in the docket. I have been asked to serve this defendant multiple times. I've been asked to show cause why the judge shouldn't, dismiss and or why my service to this, I shouldn't say dismiss, why the service that I have attempted shouldn't be considered. That has been going on a long time. So I'll just read what she said again. This is Judge Levy. Here, there is no question that plaintiff does not know defendant's identity nor address at which plaintiff may properly serve defendant. Plaintiff's alleged wrongdoings, even if true, are not an excuse for defendant to evade service, and defendant has not shown any authority demonstrating otherwise. Moreover, even if plaintiff failed to show good cause is not necessary for the court to extend the service deadline. A district court, even in the absence of good cause, can exercise discretion to extend time or the time. That's Savoy versus City of East Lansing. Defendant's objection related to the suit's bad faith foundation is overruled. C. Objection related to Michigan Court Rule 2.105J. Next, defendant argues that Judge Stafford's order permitting alternate service is contrary to Michigan Court Rule 2.105J, which defendant believes strictly governs substituted and alternate service, ECF number 82, page ID 1138. Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 4E1 provides that an individual may be served by following state law for serving a summons in an action. Hang on. I think when I rolled it up too fast. Here it is. I thought it was. Okay. Federal Rule of Civil Procedure, 4E1 provides that an individual may be served by following state law for serving a summons in an action brought in courts of general jurisdiction in the state where the district court is located or where service is made. In Michigan, where the district court is located, an individual may be served by delivering a summons and a copy of the complaint to the defendant personally, or sending a summons and a copy of the complaint by registered or certified mail, return receipt requested, and delivery restricted to the address. That's Michigan Court R2105A. Service by registered or certified mail is only complete once the defendant acknowledges receipt of mail and a copy of the return receipt signed by the defendant must be attached to proof showing service. Michigan Court R2, same law, 2.105A2. The Michigan court rules also permit the court to approve alternate means of service. Michigan Court Rule 2.105J1 provides on a showing that service of process cannot reasonably be made as provided by this rule. The court may, by order, permit service of process to be made in any other manner reasonably calculated to give the defendant actual notice of the proceedings and an opportunity to be heard. Regarding requests for alternate means of service, Michigan Court Rule 2.105J2 states, a request for an order under the rule must be made in a verified motion dated not more than 14 days before it is filed. The motion must set forth sufficient facts to show that process cannot be served under this rule and must state the defendant's address or last known address, or that no address of the defendant is known. If the name or present address of the defendant is unknown, the moving party, that would be me, must, or plaintiff I should say, must set forth facts showing, let's just go up one, diligent inquiry to ascertain it. A hearing on the motion is not required unless the court so directs. The court finds that Michigan Court Rule 2.105J2 was adequately followed. On May 16, 2025, plaintiff filed a supplemental motion to compel disclosure of identity and confirmation of address used by Jane Doe, ECF number 51. Let me just pause. That was ECF 51. So I have been trying to get the address time and time and the name so I can properly serve her, because she kept saying I'm not properly served. That's not my legal name. That's what the defendant. She was Jane Doe, improperly named Danielle Robertson. Like, I need to know her name. So when people back in May, now this is my own quick comment, were saying, why do you want to compel? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that? You're focused on the wrong thing. You're the judge doesn't want to hear this. And okay, let me keep going. Plaintiff filed a supplemental motion to compel disclosure of identity and confirmation of address used by Jane Doe, ECF number 51. In support of this motion, plaintiff filed a declaration in which, listen closely, she declared under penalty of perjury that the Sheridan, Wyoming address appears to not be suitable for service because of its link to shell companies or corporations, fraud reports, and service evasion schemes, and that plaintiff is unable to ascertain defendant's identity or true address for service. Page ID 491. Although plaintiff's motion itself is not verified, plaintiff's declaration is sufficient because it, like a verified motion under this rule, is a sworn statement that sets forth sufficient facts to show that process cannot be served under Michigan Court Rule 2.105. Michigan Court Rule 2.105J2 further. Make sure I don't roll it too fast. Defendant's identity is unknown to plaintiff, as acknowledged numerous times by defendant herself. That's not me. That's not my name. As acknowledged numerous times by defendant herself. Oh, you can't see because it's analyze this. I want you to see that one. ECF number 82, page ID 1127. Describing herself as improperly named Danielle Robertson at page ID 1143, describing Danielle Robertson as a non-existent entity. Lots of different ways that she has described even Danielle Robertson. Page 14. Defendant's argument that Michigan Court Rule 2.105J2 requires a supporting affidavit with specific facts showing due diligence at ordinary methods, personal service or restricted delivery, certified mail to the proper addressee, includes dates, times, locations, process server attempts, skip traces, postal inquiries, etc., is unsupported by citations to authorities, and these requirements do not appear in the language of the rule itself. ECF number 82, page ID 1138. This is defendant arguing this. Finally, it is not clear how an attempt at ordinary methods of service could be made when defendant's identity is unknown. Thus, defendant's objection related to Michigan Court Rule 2.105 is overruled. Remember when this defendant said, "Serve me"? I've been trying, and now you've been served. But she's arguing, no, that's not been done. No, the magistrate judge, she did this erroneous law, this. Okay, let me not do too much. D, objection related to evasion narrative. Here's her objection. Listen to this. Defendant objects on the basis of the evasion narrative fails. Alias does not equal concealment. Non-existent LLC doesn't equal organization. ECF number 82, page ID 1138 through 1139. In this objection, defendant argues that plaintiff knew that her previous attempts at service were unsuccessful, that the use of multiple aliases cannot be construed as proof of evasion, and that the information related to her use and or cancellation of registered agent in Dover, Delaware is legally irrelevant. Defendant's objection does not demonstrate that Judge Stafford's order is clearly erroneous or contrary to law. As set forth by Judge Stafford in her order, Robertson has used several aliases and addresses to evade service. We need to highlight that. Robertson has used several aliases and addresses to evade service. Evasion. So I wasn't making that up. She confirmed. Jane Doe, John Doe. I don't know who John Doe is. That's another alias to me. This is apart from what I'm reading. This, again, I'm going to preface what I'm saying. Fair use commentary. I really don't know. But I need to know her name. I'm not just doing this for an exercise in futility. Okay. I see a few out there. I see Vicky Black at the top plotter. We see Polly. We see It's Not Me, who says it's the audacity of her to keep telling the judge her decisions are erroneous. Fair use commentary. Let's continue. Defendant's arguments that plaintiff's attempts to serve her alias Daniel Robertson and non-existing LLC are not diligent but a pretext to create a record for alternate service or harassment because plaintiff was aware that these entities did not exist, that defendant's use of many usernames was not an attempt to evade service, and that defendant's prior use of a registered agent is irrelevant, are not well taken. Let's read through that once again. Defendant's arguments that plaintiff's attempts to serve her alias Daniel Robertson and non-existent LLC are not diligent but a pretext. So defendant saying these attempts were a pretext to create a record. So I'm out here creating a record so I can get alternate service. Wow. That's, again, fair use commentary, my quick reaction. Or harassment, because plaintiff was aware that these entities did not exist, that defendant's use of many usernames was not an attempt to evade service. No. And that defendant's prior use of a registered agent is irrelevant, are not well taken. Judge says no. Plaintiff is required to attempt to serve defendant, and it is not clear how plaintiff could have legitimately served defendant's correct identity when defendant's identity is unknown. How can I do it? I mean, it's like logic. Who always talks about logic? If we don't get a name, if I'm chasing a ghost, if I've got multiple aliases that I'm running after, I don't know. I keep trying. And she keeps, putting another one out there. And then tells the judge, you can't give the plaintiff alternate service because she's just trying to build this case to get alternate service. That is not in good faith. But I don't have the right address and I don't have the right name. So give me the right name. Okay, let's go back. Additionally, it is not clear why any of these arguments entitle defendant to avoid service. Now, I don't know what's going to show up on Monday. Okay, I'm just reading. And I'm giving just a little bit, just, quick reaction. But I'm reacting to what you see on the screen. So, I'm not arguing it. I'm just reacting. Let's read a couple of more comments. Plotter says, it's not me. You were just minding the lawn on a pretty winter's day, and I get it. Vicky Black says, all comments and opinions in the chat are their own thoughts. Thank you for reminding the chat. That logic is totally logicking. Buzzball Boys says, hi, Teddy, Plotter, Black, Vicky, everyone. Hello, let's continue. Defendant's identity is unknown. No, let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning of that. Plaintiff is required to attempt to serve defendant, and it's not clear how plaintiff could have legitimately served defendant's correct identity when defendant's identity is unknown. Additionally, it is not clear why any of these arguments entitle defendant to avoid service. Let's continue. Looking at the time, 4:26, 1:18 hour we've been on. So we're doing good. We're on page 16. You can tell I'm kind of trying to rush through. Am I doing okay with the time, guys, this afternoon? I'm reading as fast as I really want to right now. Okay. Defendant is not permitted to willfully evade service of process. That comes from Smith, 2021, Westlaw, 1226-3260 at 2. As such, defendant's objection is overruled. So willfully, it looks like willfully. Evasion. The legal, citation? Defendant is not permitted to willfully evade service of process. And she's telling the magistrate, no, erroneous. And don't do it again, basically. No. Did you see what was above? I'm paraphrasing it. No, stop. Stop trying to, figure out how the plaintiff can serve me. Stop. My words. E. Objection related to service to defendant's email. Defendant argues that Judge Stafford's order authorizing plaintiff to serve defendant by sending the complaint and summons to defendant's email, DannyMontana2022@gmail.com, is not reasonably calculated to give notice according to due process principles. Here we go again. ECF in her ECF number 82, 1139 through 1140. In support of this argument, defendant continues to argue that plaintiff is acting in bad faith and that plaintiff's attempt to serve defendant via email would be performative harassment. This is my first time seeing that. You know that new word? It's catching on fire. Performative. I have not heard that word so much until this last quarter in the news. Performative harassment, not just harassment. Defendant continues to argue that plaintiff is acting in bad faith and that plaintiff's attempt to serve defendant via email would be performative harassment. Now I really go up a few octaves. So telling the judge, serving me through my email, that's performative harassment. Wow. Defendant is not permitted to willfully evade service, we just learned. Hang on. Gotta get some more water. Hang on. One more minute, please. All right, I'm here. Just I had spilled some water earlier and I didn't get a chance to wipe it up. All right, so I'm back. Where did we leave off? All right, right here at the top. Okay, are we good? Moderators? All right. At the top of page 23. So we're doing real good. Okay. Or did I? Oh, wait a minute. We're not that far. I think I skipped a page up when I went to get some water. Oh, I did. We were on E. Objection related to service to defendant's email. We talked about that. Let me just see. Performative harassment, I think, is where I left off. Is that where I left off, guys? I'm going to go back there. All right. Defendant continues to argue that plaintiff is acting in bad faith and that plaintiff's attempt to serve defendant via email would be performative harassment. Defendant's argument is unrelated to due process and therefore fails to demonstrate that Judge Stafford's order is clearly erroneous or contrary to law. Again, defendant is not entitled to evade service. Defendant's objection is overruled. Performative harassment. Listen carefully. Thank you. Defendant is not entitled to evade service. F. Objections related to Rule 4M defects. Defendant argues that plaintiff did not and cannot cure Rule 4M defects. ECF number 82, page ID 1140. To the extent this objection, we're on page 16, repeats her previous arguments, it is overruled for the reasons set forth in this opinion. Similarly, defendant's objection titled 90-day clock is overruled at page ID 1141 through 42. Defendant's argument that plaintiff failed to meet the service deadline is irrelevant because Judge Stafford extended the summons and the time to serve. ECF number 74, page ID 780 through 81. Defendant's argument that this extension cannot retroactively cure a Rule 4M failure is not supported by any citation to authority and thus fails to demonstrate that Judge Stafford's order is clearly erroneous or contrary to law. G. Objection related to disclosure of defendant's name and address. Defendant objects to Judge Stafford's order to disclose her name and an address where service can be affected. ECF number 82, page ID 1128 through 33, 1136, 1140 through 41. She claims that the order permits premature discovery and, quote, tramples anonymous speech protections in the face of documented threats. I know that's a little. Tramples. Again, I'm just seeing this really for the first time, so that's my reaction. She claims that order permits premature discovery and tramples anonymous speech protections in the face of documented threats. ID, page ID 1140 through 1141. So she's characterizing this, trampling her anonymous speech protections in the face of documented threats. Wow. Defendant also takes issue with Judge Stafford's refusal to consider her improperly filed media exhibits, page ID 1128 and 1132. Let's go to page 18, and that's yeah. Okay, so let me just look here. Pace yourself, listen carefully. Thank you for supporting. But didn't the judge ask plaintiff to serve defendant using email? So then the judge is asking plaintiff to engage in performative harassment. Ciao. I'm just seeing this for myself for the first time. That's why I was like, performative harassment. Wonder how she looked at that. Wow. Third. Let's see. Oh, okay. So we just actually went to the top of this. And then I paused so I could read some of your comments. Wait a minute. First, defendant's argument that Judge Stafford's order permits premature discovery is rejected. The court reiterates that plaintiff's subpoenas to non-party Block Incorporated were quashed because they were premature, pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 26D1 CECF 62. Plaintiff's inability to obtain early discovery has no connection to defendant's ability to stay anonymous. Second, defendant's objections related to the Judge Stafford's refusal to consider her media exhibits are overruled. Defendant did not properly seek leave to submit media exhibits pursuant to Rule 19C of the court's electronic filing policies and procedures, ECF number 75, page ID 824 through, it says 824, ECF 82, page ID 1129, describing the exhibits as URLs. See also Supra 2. Judge Stafford's refusal to consider defendant's videos is warranted. Third, Defendant's contention that Judge Stafford's order ignored exhibits submitted by defendant is unsupported by the record. Let's see. Superscript 6, ECF number 82, page ID 1129, 1145. And let's read the superscript. 6. Defendant states at several points, without citation to legal authority, that the court should hold an evidentiary hearing. ECF number 82, page ID 1145 and 1151. Defendant's request is surprising, considering that an evidentiary hearing would require her to come to court in person, therefore making any request for anonymity moot. In any event, defendant has not demonstrated that an evidentiary hearing is required at this stage of the case. I thought the same thing. In other words, you want an evidentiary hearing? Let's go. I was like, really? She didn't realize? You're going to have to show up. The judge said requires her to come to court in person, therefore making any request for anonymity moot. Wow. I didn't go back there. Third, defendant's contention that Judge Stafford's order ignored exhibits submitted by defendant is unsupported by the record. And then it's superscript 6. Defendant states at several points, without citation to legal authority, that the court should hold an evidentiary hearing. That's why I paused. Like, defendant's request is surprising, considering that evidentiary hearing would require her to come to court in person, therefore making any request for anonymity moot. Judge Stafford's order clearly, and I'm just reading this for the first time with you, so demonstrates familiarity with the exhibits submitted by both parties. ECF number 74, page ID 775, 777. Be careful what you ask for. You might get it. That's just a general comment to everyone. Okay? Be careful what you ask for. You might just get it. Fourth, defendant claims that her exhibits to her objections demonstrate plaintiffs listen carefully. Fourth, defendant claims, because I skimmed this part. Fourth, defendant claims that her exhibits to objections demonstrate plaintiff's collaboration with documented violent individuals and the threats defendant faces. ECF number 82, page ID 1145 through 47. See also ECF numbers 84, 84-1, 84-2, 3, 4, 85. Exhibits to defendant's objection. Defendant claims her exhibits to her objections demonstrate plaintiff's collaboration with documented violent individuals and the threats defendant faces. Now, watch this, y'all. Watch this. Listen carefully. However, the court cannot consider much of the evidence submitted with defendant's objections because they are improperly filed and presented to the court. Throughout defendant's exhibits, defendant includes inappropriate commentary and argument. See ECF number 84, page ID 1274. Defendant arguing in her Exhibit 5 and Exhibit W that plaintiff's actions were fraudulent or intentional misrepresentation. Page ID 1275. Defendant including in her Exhibit X a 230-word narrative urging the court to see it from my perspective and describing in her own words events that allegedly occurred. But we got to go back here. First time. Whoa. Defendant includes inappropriate commentary and arguments. Defendant arguing in her exhibits 5 and W that plaintiff's actions were fraudulent or intentional misrepresentation. Defendant including in her Exhibit X a 230-word narrative urging the court to see it from my perspective. This must be the part, persuasion. And describing in her own words events that allegedly occurred. The inclusion of such statements, notes, or arguments on the exhibits themselves is neither a proper method of providing supporting exhibits nor a proper method of presenting arguments to the court. Redis versus Revenue Cycle Service Circular. That's Tennessee, August 11th, 2025. Reports and recommendations adopted with more citation. The place for argument and explanation is in the brief, not in exhibits. The court is concerned that defendant's inclusion of arguments in her exhibits is an effort to circumvent reasonable page limits and as such will not consider any statement by defendant included within her exhibits. Additionally, defendant's exhibits are repetitive and too long. Defendant's exhibits to her objections total 461 pages. ECF numbers 84, 84-1, 84-2, 3, 4, and 85. Those were dashes or hyphens. Same. Superscript 7. Let's go down. If the court included defendant-stricken exhibits, her exhibits would total 558 pages. See Exhibit C ECF number 83. In other words, go from 461 to 558, barring the stricken exhibit. Now, there have been courts that have seen thousands of exhibits, but wait till you hear what she has to say. Let's see. Further, many of the screenshots used in her exhibits are presented numerous times within the same filing. Oh, I've got to pause. This is my fair use commentary. This goes to the core when I pointed out months ago and years ago when the defendant was sending to the police, to my lawyer, to the board, pages and pages and pages of the same material, duplicated, so it would appear that there were 200 pages in front of the board to make it appear that I was doing something multiple times in multiple videos that were the same thumbnail. I have been saying it and people have poo-pooed me. I paused because I didn't know this. You can go back to my recordings. We're not going to go today. But the judge confirmed. She can see it. Duplicative, same exhibits, same exhibit numbers, pictures. How many times did we see DEA's pictures? Same picture. I told you guys. Nobody believed Unwind with Teddy. Somebody said this is a stupid. Stupid. Now here is where I say, y'all better leave me alone. Defendant's brief also often lacks citations to exhibits, references exhibits that the court cannot locate or does not provide necessary explanation or context to understand the exhibits presented to the court. And I missed this one. Go up to the top. The same filing is where I paused. Let's go back. Further, many of the screenshots used in her exhibits are presented numerous times within the same filing. That's when I stopped and let you know. Confirmed. Seen it before. ECF number 85, page ID 1676, 1685, displaying the same screenshot. Let's highlight that. See, you guys can't see what I saw that went to certain agencies or whatever. And I've been telling you that what was put up on a post is not true. And all the naysayers and the door knockers Yep. Moreover, hundreds of pages, not hundreds. Moreover, I'm just reading this for the first time. Moreover, hundreds of pages of defendants' exhibits are not attributed to an exhibit number, hundreds, and are thus not clearly applicable to any particular filing or argument. See, she just copied just pages and pages. Y'all didn't believe me. See ECF number 84-2, page ID 1356 through 1424. Again, let me just pause for my own, not editorializing, but anything can happen on Monday. The judge can see one of my filings and she could come back and she could, okay? So I am saying that in advance so nobody comes back and says, see? No, I'm pointing out we'll go day by day. because this judge isn't playing with any of us, okay? We're both learning. Moreover, hundreds of pages of defendant's exhibits are not attributed to an exhibit number and are thus not clearly applicable to any particular filing or argument. Lacking exhibit numbers throughout the entire 88-page filing. ECF numbers 85, page ID 1605 through 1650, 1653 through 1709. Defendant's brief also often lacks citations to her exhibits, references exhibits that the court cannot locate, or does not provide necessary explanation or context to understand the exhibits presented to the court. And that's a superscript 8. For example, the court is unable to locate defendant's exhibits A3-1 and A3-2 or exhibit A3-3, ECF number 82, page ID 1146 through 47. Now she gives an example. For example, listen closely. I see somebody's name. This is fair use. Defendant describes actions taken by a man named Marquisio Watson. Isn't that King World? Stating that during one live, when Evans and Watson argued, plaintiff begged him not to drop her from the panel, even as he was posting about me across his channel, with plaintiff assisting on panels. ECF number 82, page ID 1146. At no point in her objection does defendant explain why this incident demonstrates that Watson or Watson's threats can be attributed to plaintiff, nor does defendant provide a citation to the record that supports her description of this incident. The court is unable to understand or credit defendant's description of events without further information. In short, because much of the factual record is improperly presented and lacks clear explanation, defendant has failed to demonstrate that Judge Stafford's decision was clearly erroneous or contrary to law. I'm going to park this for just a second. Let's see. We're on page 22. This whole, and I'm going to be real careful. We'll just call him Watson. Okay? Watson. We know Watson, right? And I'm not talking about Watson. You know, you had Thomas Edison, right? With the light bulb. Somebody quickly look up, who is Watson? Somebody quickly look that up. Let's find out if there are any famous Watsons out here to provide a little Saturday afternoon. So we'll just call him Watson from now on. So it appears to me that the argument for threats, violence that she was trying to convey to the judge by pairing me because I was dropped. She said, begging and pleading. Begging, Watson. Please don't drop me, Watson. Please. And I did. I said, don't drop me. Because he was being rude. Dear Watson. At least I thought so. I must have been boring to Watson. I didn't talk fast enough for Watson. He became impatient. He asked me a question but didn't give me a chance to answer. But she wants to, put that on record as the reason, part of the reason that she should remain anonymous. These threats, she's trying to tie that. But she didn't demonstrate nothing. To the court, couldn't explain it. Couldn't show it. It was deficient. She couldn't demonstrate it. The judge didn't understand. What was the conversation between Watson? What? And do you know, allegedly, Watson's photo, remember when I was telling you the other night and I was kind of, before this came in, I was kind of feeling away because I'm still learning of information going out to different agencies where Watson's picture, where my face, my image, and somebody's record. So that when a person first gets an impression and people think, oh, you didn't lose any money as a physician assistant, I can clue you in. You talk about taint. Even if a person asks, what is my picture doing up next to Watson's picture? My reputation. I took an oath to do no harm, but I am said to the judge to do harm, plan, plot, all this? Okay, I said I wouldn't argue. All right, just a thought. Wow, Watson. The court is unable to understand or credit defendants' descriptions of events without further information. Well, if you get that hearing before the judge that you're asking for, though she was surprised, and I'm surprised too, you might get a chance. I want to see the evidence. Finally, wait a minute. Yeah. Finally, the defendant generally objects to the correctness of Judge Stafford's opinion and that she minimizes ongoing and escalating harm. Did we see the word entitled anywhere in this? Minimized ongoing as that the judge's opinion to the correctness of it. Wow. I didn't know that. Ongoing and escalating harm. I have told you I haven't read through some of these things in detail. But, and that's on page ID 1144 or 1144. But defendant does not cite to any case law in support of her arguments, and much of her argument relegates matters already considered by Judge Stafford or concerns improperly presented facts. Defendant's exhibits and explanations are deficient and fail to demonstrate that Judge Stafford's decision is clearly erroneous or contrary to law. Defendant's objection is overruled. H. Objection related to jurisdictional challenges. Defendant's objection, titled Jurisdictional Challenges, is also overruled. ECF number 82, page ID 1142 through 1143. Sorry, I'm looking at the time and something else. The court notes that this, let's go to the next page, that this objection does not specifically identify a part of the order to which it objects in violation of Local Rule 72(1)D. Additionally, Judge Stafford's order does not make any determinations regarding jurisdiction. To the extent that defendant intends to challenge Judge Stafford's entire order on the basis that she lacks jurisdiction to issue the order, the objection is also overruled. Defendant first claims that the court lacks federal question subject matter jurisdiction because the foundation of the suit is flawed, resting on fraudulent DMCA claim. ECF number 82, page ID 1143. The merits of plaintiff's claims are not a proper basis to challenge federal question subject matter jurisdiction. See Teamster Local Union 480 versus United Parcel Service. Subject matter jurisdiction is not a merits question. Subject matter jurisdiction presents an issue quite separate from the question whether the allegations the plaintiff makes entitle him to relief. Quoting Morrison versus National Australian Bank. The court has federal question subject matter jurisdiction over a suit if federal question appears on the face of the complaint. Chase Bank USA National versus City of Cleveland. Citing 28 U.S.C. 1331. Here, wait a minute. Plaintiff brings claims of copyright infringement under federal law. See ECF number 1, page ID 7. ECF number 75, page ID 825. As such, the suit arises from a federal law, and the court has subject matter jurisdiction over the suit. Superscript 9. Let's go and see it. Even if the court lacked federal question subject matter jurisdiction over the suit, defendant's argument that the court lacks diversity subject matter jurisdiction would not succeed. The court is unable to determine whether there is complete diversity in this case because Defendant refuses to share information about herself. Defendant may not use anonymity simultaneously as a shield to protect her privacy and as a sword to undermine the litigation. ECF number 74, page ID 778. Defendants' arguments related to service and personal jurisdiction are overruled. The court permits alternate service and issues an extension of deadline for service. Finally, defendant's argument that the order for defendant to reveal her identity should be postponed until the plaintiff can demonstrate a prima facie case supporting the claims is overruled. ECF number 82, 1143. Defendant does not provide any legal basis or authority for that argument and thus fails to demonstrate that Judge Stafford's decision was clearly erroneous or contrary to the law. Page 25. We're very close. 26 pages. 4. Defendant's statement related to litigation misconduct. Defendant accuses plaintiff of engaging in pre-suit scrubbing and post-filing concealment of core materials. ECF number 82, page ID 1147, 1149. It is not clear what relief defendant seeks in this part of her filing. To the extent this section of the brief intends to object to Judge Stafford's order, it is overruled. Defendant does not specify the part of Judge Stafford's order to which she objects in violation of Local Rule 72(1)D, or D. Additionally, defendant's argument that this misconduct warrants adverse inferences and weigh against compelling defendant's identity or alternate service is perfunctory and unsupported by any authority. ECF number 82, page ID 1149. To the extent that this section is intended to be a motion pursuant to the Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 37E, CECF number 82, page ID 1148, it is denied as premature. Discovery in this case has not begun. 5. Conclusion. For the reasons set forth above, defendant's objections to Magistrate Judges Stafford's order, ECF number 82, are overruled. Defendant's motion to stay is denied as moot. Defendant's objections to the Magistrate Judge's order striking ECF number 83 are overruled. ECF number 94, and defendant's motion for leave to submit video evidence is denied. Further, the court's order staying defendant Danielle Robertson's deadline to file a written notice identifying her legal name and postal address is vacated. ECF number 95, defendant must file this written notice by December 15, 2025. It is so ordered, dated December 4th, 2025 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Judith E. Levy, United States District Judge, Certificate of Service. The undersigned certifies that the foregoing document was served upon counsel of record and any unrepresented parties via court's ECF system to their respective email or first class U.S. mail addresses disclosed on the notice of electronic filing on December 4th, 2025. William Barkholtz, case manager. ECF 118. And you know what I didn't see at the end of it? Does anyone know what I didn't see at the very end? I didn't see anything where the court allowed a 14-day objection, response, anything like that on her ruling here. Like anything in this ruling. Objecting to anything in this ruling, including going back to someone's question, can she file another motion, emergency motion to stay? I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have a legal basis to, say one way or the other, except what I said, I don't know, and I don't know what might happen. So I don't know, but I don't see anything here at the bottom beyond page 26 that says anything. And it's ordered. Defendant must file this written notice by December 15, 2025. And I have also been, or was, before she was supposed to identify herself November the 3rd. I was then directed, once that information is received, then as plaintiff receiving this information, I have updates that I have to follow as well. Her name and everything. So it is 5:21. I've been on for 2 hours and 13 minutes. I don't think that's so bad, given I gave some commentary, but that's my opinion. I don't know. And for those of you who stayed through the, time, yes, I gave some, reaction, and it was in real time because a lot of this I hadn't read. Yeah. And, but I wanted to get through it in one setting. What say you? Let's move this out of the way. Give me a moment to just flip this for a second, because I would be remiss not to at least read my email and see some of your reaction to this filing, ECF 118, and anything else, questions, some of which I cannot answer. And I am clearly going to state, I don't know anything that's going to happen in the future. All I can say is what we see as dates. There's so much that can happen in the turn of a dime. Yeah. Okay, so give me just a second. I'll put on this while I flip the screens. Give me a minute. All right. I could show the chat, but let me just leave this up like that for now. A relaxing fireplace after all of that. It's almost dinner time. It's 5:27, at least here. So let me see if I can kind of scour through these comments. And you can email me right now at unwinewithteddy@gmail.com. This has been Fair Use Commentary. I said that I was planning to come back tonight. We'll see. Yeah, I might go over on Station Head, but I won't go Station Head unless I'll say this. I won't put anything up on Station Head that I want you guys to see without coming, here first. So that way you don't miss out. Because some of you, aren't subscribed to Station Head following me there, and you won't get a notice. And, Station Head isn't like YouTube, where I expect people to be checking. Okay. But also check, Community Wall and follow me on Station Head, Instagram, here on YouTube. And yeah. So let me just check email. I haven't. Oh, wow. So I'm looking at a couple of email headers. I haven't clicked on them to read the contents. Really? Wow. Okay. Interesting. We don't know how this is going to go. Hey. This is a very fluid. I'm going to use that word. This is a very fluid case. There are numerous people, okay, that have said this case should have been dismissed months ago. So it's not just one person. It's multiple people who have said this case should have been dismissed months ago. And I'm still saying anything can happen. We get beyond, okay, the 15th with no major interruptions, nothing. No earth shattering. Okay? It's going to get serious. And if it goes the distance, the naysayers and the door knockers are going to find it interesting for the first time. If they have never found my channel or anything about Unwind with Teddy interesting, whether I'm here on YouTube in the future or not, that'll be the one time that I think, I can't say, but I think they're going to wake up. And this is all, it hinges on, right now we have a critical point. It's judge order. Defendant must reveal her true identity. That has been her entire mantra. Anonymous. And what the judge has not heard, if we get beyond that point, that will open the door. That will open a door. That once we go through that door, I don't know what's going to happen, but it ain't going to be boring. If we get through that, the bear cave will be boring no more. I don't know what's going to happen, guys, so I'm not sitting over here pretending like I know the future. I said if. Nothing changes. We get through that door. The bear cave will not be boring anymore. Not through the rest of this trial. Or I don't know how long or short. If, it's a big if. we go through that door, if we go through that door, if we go through that door, ain't nothing gonna be boring. Even if I talk slow, it's not gonna be boring. No, because we might just find out that maybe something else I said just might be true. But we don't know yet, do we? And we don't know if they're going to show up. That's why I said, Crown Man. Crown Man, I think you know something, Crown Man. What you know? What you know in California, Crown Man? I don't know what you know. What y'all know out in California? Because I said I'll get on a plane and I'll fly anywhere. Yes. Yeah. Where y'all want to go? Because I don't know. But if that door opens, I think there's going to be a surprise. And I don't think it's going to be a solo dolo. But my focus is one day at a time. And I'm not going to telegraph everything because I know you're listening. Because let me tell you something. If somebody's getting ready to put on them, string up them running shoes, and I'm not necessarily talking about who you think I'm talking about running. See, y'all think y'all know everything. And I'm not telling you everything I know either. Because I don't know the future. I just know if we go through that door, we got a song request. That's right. Staying focused. It's Saturday. Let's go for a song. Why not? I play music over here. Let's see. I gotta pull it up. Oh, there's a lot of songs about California, aren't there? Let's see. Going back to Cali. LL Cool J. Yeah. We can take a quick music break. Is there a clean? Should I? Before we get into it, is this all clean? Seemed like everything that LL Cool J does is clean, right? Sorry to break it like that. All right. So if I want to come back tonight, we might want to say, yeah, press pause. But I want to play one more song, something California. Let's see. We got California Love. California Knows How to Party. Let's. Do we have a clean version? Dr. Dre. Let's see. West Coast Bounce. I want Snoop, which I want. Let's see. Tupac, Dre, California Love. Let's see. And then I'm going to say goodbye. Let's see. Do we have a clean version? Extra clean. California Love, Tupac. All right. So California Dreamin'. Yeah. Love those old songs. Yeah. I see you out there. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and say this. Biggest bear hugs go out to all the Grizzlies and the Honey Bears. Please hit the like on your way out. Join me sometime. If I come back later tonight, we might hear some receipts, over on Station Hat, but we'll see. Don't want to come back too late. Yeah, that's it. And I'll look over your comments and we'll check things out. And I'll look at your email at unwinewithteddy@gmail.com. I appreciate all of you hanging out. I know it's a little longer for me. So, but that's okay. Yeah, this was necessary. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Teddy. Have a great evening until I return.
California.
Let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West, a state that's untouchable like Elliot Ness. The track hits your eardrum like a vest for your in the city of. We in that sunshine state where the bomb be. The state where you never find a dance floor empty. On a mission for them greens, lean, mean, money making machines, serving fiends. I've been in the game for 10 years making rap tunes. Ever since Honeys was wearing Sassoon, now it's 95 and they clock me and watch me diamond shining, looking like a Rob Liberace. It's all good, from Diego to the Bay. Your city is the bomb if your city making pay. It feel the same way, straight putting it down for California, yeah. West Coast. That's right. California dreaming. Soon as I step on the scene, I'm hearing screaming, fiending for money and alcohol. The life of a West Side player with cowards die in a strong ball. Only in Cali will we riot, not rally to live and die. In LA we wear chucks, not valleys. Yeah, that's right. Dressed in loafs and khaki suits and ride is what we do. Flossing but have caution, we collide with other crews. Famous because we programs. Worldwide, let them recognize from Long Beach to Rosecrans. Bumping and grinding like a slow jam. It's West Side.